What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well so far. Let's cut straight to the chase. These past few news-type videos that I've made, I've said this. The statement, Deltarune tomorrow, becomes truer every day. And today, I mean it more than ever. Deltarune tomorrow is truer today than it ever has been. And this comes courtesy of some strange activity on Toby's Bluesky account, and also some potential news about the age rating of the game being possibly done. So, we'll get right into that, but first, if you are part of this crew that watches my news update videos on Deltarune's development, and you haven't seen my theory videos yet, check them out. They're pretty cool, I think. I say some pretty interesting things sometimes. So yeah, watch those, they're pretty neat, and also be sure to subscribe to the channel, help me out a lot, and I'd really appreciate it, so thank you. But, I will now direct your attention to this. Alright, so this here is our first exhibit for today's video, and it is the most recently archived website for Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2 on the PlayStation Store. Now, the importance of this is in the age rating over here. So we see it's rated T for teen, understandable, valid, fantasy violence, mild blood, mild language, right? But what if I told you that that's not up to date anymore? Because if you go over to the current up-to-date PlayStation Store page for Chapters 1 and 2, you'll see they added in-game purchases. So, to clarify, this does not mean that we're going to be getting sold the Rousey Smoking a Blunt skin for $4 or the Gaster expansion pack or whatever. This seems to be, like Toby says in a post I'll show you in a minute here, that it is for the link at the start of the game that says you should go buy Undertale if you haven't played it yet, because it's kind of important to play the game first. So that's the in-game purchase that it seems to be referring to. I also saw some people saying that it could be future chapters, where you're able to buy the future chapters as DLC. Seeing that as an argument, maybe. I'm not entirely sure on that one, but currently that's not why it has this. And Toby mentions this in a Bluesky post that I'll talk about here in a minute. But speaking of Bluesky, there's been some strange activity. In fact, you'll notice that there hasn't been another post in this thread since the one today, since 12 days ago, which hadn't been the case previously, because if we go here, well, actually, wait, that's not good. If we go here, we can see that his posting frequency has been increasing as we get closer to the release. So here we have 27 days, and then 20 days, and then when it loads, we can see 18 days, 13 days, 12 days, and then 6 hours from now. So that's 12 days of no news, even though it had been weekly or less than weekly, or less time than a week between. And so that left people in this weird state of like, why isn't he giving updates? Maybe he's giving updates, or he's not giving updates rather, because the game has no more to update on because it's basically finished, right? So perhaps bug testing is done, this and that, but he doesn't want to give away too much because it's not entirely finalized yet, so he's waiting for like a trailer or something like that. Now, it is Monday night tonight, which is when he usually posts these updates. So maybe we'll see one tonight as well, but I think that this new post that I mentioned is probably the one for today, in which he says that the IARC recently decided to update the rating of Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2 demo to include in-game purchases because it links to Undertale's store page at the start. So this is what I was saying before. There are no plans for in-game purchases in the full game, so the Susie default dance emote is not going to be purchasable for $6, unfortunately. But this is also pretty interesting because I'm bad at saying acronyms. The IARC, dang, seems to be some kind of Australian board for these kinds of things. But the ESRB also changed on the PlayStation Store, right? So this to me implies that they at least looked at it. And if they were looking at Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2, then they presumably were looking at it because they were looking at 1 through 4 as well, right? There's no reason for them to suddenly just conveniently, whether it's the ESRB or this Australian board, for them to conveniently just look at 1 and 2 right now. It'd be a very big coincidence years later for them to just now change that to be the case. So it sounds like Toby probably submitted his new work to the boards it's for, you know, the release of the game because it's done, and he's ready to put it out there. And they just now noticed this little detail and added that on. So they probably have the game rated by now, which means that all that's left to do is get the soundtrack ready to release and some trailers and promotional stuff. Now, this comes from the quests to release part of that newsletter that I showed you in the last video, where he was like, oh yeah, we need to do, after we do bug testing, we gotta do ESRB stuff and ratings and finalize the soundtrack and make trailers and stuff. It sounds like we are past the ESRB rating at this point, assuming that this is an indication that they have rated the game, or at least started looking at it. Because once again, why would they change this one detail if they hadn't been looking at it for this reason, for the Deltarune tomorrow reason? So it's pretty exciting stuff. Also, once again, Toby not posting for a while. It's okay. We're not as starved as Silksong people, for example. I think that him not posting is kind of a good sign, because even his last updates were like not real development updates. They were like the Rotten Tea thing that I made a cool theory on. You should watch that theory. It's pretty neat. And it's like he's running out of things to say on development because it's basically finished, right? So that is my stance on this whole topic. That is what I think is going on. So yeah, thank you, and Deltarune tomorrow. Thanks for watching the video. If you made it this far in the video, you must like the video, so why not like the video? Also, shout out to Rosie Pixels, Frisky512, Blake the Snake, A Herman24, Dlee, Foxworthy, the amazing Fruit Salad tier member, Com Luke, and the two absolutely insane Crazy Juice members, Toby and Liz. That in mind, I love you guys. Be safe, be smart, don't be stupid, and have a great rest of your day.